Right, time for business, and Ghana is getting ready to welcome the taxi service known around the world as Uber. And it's one of the stories you have in the business.
It is, and I think it's quite remarkable. I mean, especially I have encountered their services in London several times.
Okay.
And it's quite, super.
All right.
Then, I was amazed when I heard it was extending services to Ghana.
To Ghana.
Yes.
All right. So apparently they're launching tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the launch, exactly. But we spoke to the CEO of the company, who is currently here for the launch.
Okay. What else is in business? You take it.
Well, in business, you want us to go straight?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Now, industrial entities are to produce their own power for their operations or directly purchase power in bulk from power producers would before the end of the year be required to invest in a certain amount of renewable energy. This includes mining firms and steel companies whose operations depend heavily on power. According to the Energy Commission, the initiative is geared towards achieving 10% renewable energy target in the country's energy mix by 2020. Director of Technical Regulations, Dr. Nidako Asante, explains further.
We passed the Renewable Energy Law at the end of 2011. One of the provisions was that there will be what we call a renewable energy purchase obligation on all consumers. So the distribution companies would have to purchase a certain amount of renewable energy, and all consumers who bought directly from generators, so that's the bulk customers, so large mining companies, a few of like the steel companies and so on. Those who have negotiated power directly would also have to negotiate power with some renewable energy providers, so that we would hit our 10%. We have a target of 10% renewable energy. You can't produce 10% and nobody is taking it. So the way to achieve the 10% is to create the demand for it. And that demand will be by requiring consumers to purchase renewable energy.
Now, Ghana's per capita income, which is the index that measures the average income earned by each citizen, has increased by almost 6% since 2008. We saw the views of economist Dr. John Gachi of the University of Cape Coast on the implications of this new per capita figure on economic development, and to know if the public should be more concerned with such figures or with the realities on the ground.
Per capita income is used to measure the well-being of people. If it is improving, that is good news, but we need to go beyond the improvement in per capita income to try to assess where the expansion in the GDP that is causing the improvement in the per capita income is coming from. If it is actually located in very limited areas of the economy that do not very much affect the ordinary person, but that is not good enough to talk about. But you will also realize that if it comes to the case of Ghana, it seems to me that while in terms of sectoral growth, we still have growth coming greatly from the services sector and the mineral subsector. The areas of investment that actually contributed to growth were spread in the key areas that affect the ordinary people in terms of investment in health, education, and infrastructure. Ivory Coast may be growing better than Ghana in terms of GDP terms. But that does not mean that when you divide the GDP per population, they should be doing better, because we have different population dynamics, etc. If you go to South Africa, the problem they are facing is not the same as other problems of other countries. And these average measures may not reflect the individual level assessment of benefit from the economy. And that is why policymakers and managers of the economy should do their best to target what is to the interest of individual households and certain sections of the economy, so that they can benefit more from the economy. If you look at our GDP, it will mean that just very few people are contributing in terms of productive outcomes. So we need to ensure that we spread how we produce our GDP, so that when we are coming up with some of these measures, it will actually reflect on the generality of the people of Ghana.
That was Dr. John Gachi. Now, Accra has been named as the next city to join Uber's booming network in Africa. Accra's thriving population will have access to Uber's transport through ride-sharing platform. Joy Business spoke to CEO of Uber ahead of the official launch tomorrow.
So Uber is a technology company. We have a smartphone application which connects riders to drivers at a touch of a button. So we don't own any cars, we don't employ any drivers. Uber is really just a technology platform enabling entrepreneurs to grow and scale their businesses. So we create economic opportunity using technology. Across the continent, there are over 6,000 driver partners making use of our technology, scaling and growing their own businesses.
So what made you choose Ghana?
So going back to those points, growing middle class, high smartphone penetration, very entrepreneurial culture, very tech savvy, people who want increased mobility in their cities. People are looking for alternatives to drinking and driving. We think that Uber brings an alternative to car ownership. We're hopeful that it's very bright. As I said, we've seen huge demand for people wanting Uber to come to Ghana. We think there'll be huge demand. We've seen great growth in Nigeria, in Kenya. Obviously, each city, each country is different, but there are a lot of similarities, and we think that there's a lot right with Ghana that will make Uber a success here. We're really excited about being here for drivers, increased economic opportunity for existing transport providers. It's about minimizing the downtime, maximizing the time that they spend on trips, earning income on the Uber platform.
Okay, so how are you going to calculate the payments for the trip?
The trip is charged per kilometer and per minute. The charge per minute is 19 pesos per minute, and it's 81 pesos per kilometer.
All right, now Executive Director of the Forum for Agric Research in Africa, Dr. Yemi Akimbamijo, has called on African countries to be more prone to investments into agriculture to enhance production. African countries are among the least on the list of countries that have integrated science and technology in agriculture. Speaking to journalists ahead of a 4-day conference and exhibition in Rwanda, Dr. Akimbamijo noted the lack of investments in agriculture is stifling economic growth on the continent.
Africa is still the lowest country with assimilation of science in its production system. I was sharing a picture yesterday with our Director for Corporate Partnerships. I've just come back from a mission in Rome, in an Italian city. And I was on this mission with the board chair of FARA. We stopped at a place, but we looked at how they operate as a cooperative and transforming business, making business out of agriculture. And as we were going, then they said, oh, but would you like to see our museum in the cellar? So we went downstairs. It was interesting. And there I saw hoes, saw sickle, and it really came to life. So I told the board chair, please hold that hoe, let me take a photograph. So I can still show people that it is true when we say that hoes and cutlasses are now in the museum in Europe, not on the fields. They have tractors there. But in Africa, today, you cannot go 5 kilometers to find a 5-year-old, he will show you his hoe or her hoe. So, and that's not how you're going to feed 1.5 billion people coming in the next 10 years. That's why today we are still a net importer. How far can you go with hoes and cutlasses? When your competitors sit in an air-conditioned John Deere tractor with Starbucks coffee in their hand, cultivating 100 hectares per day.
All right, so it's midweek already, and we would like to find out how the Ghana Stock Exchange is performing by way of stocks, by way of commodities, by way of
the currencies.
The currencies. And John is here. John, what's going on?
Emmanuel, to be honest with you, the Ghana Stock Exchange, the market, the equities market, we're not responding to that fall it actually experienced last week. As total business or transactions on the market keeps dwindling by the day. As you can see, today recorded a total volume of 17,075. As again yesterday, which I described as woefully inadequate, 55. So today recorded a lower volume, you understand, in terms of turnout at a value of 25,641. A market worth over 54 billion, trading a value of 25,641. That is the extent to which the market is actually dropping. Liquidity on the market very, very low. That's exactly what is happening here. But today's market was able to do something that I think is quite impressive and significant, because it was able to actually bring market capitalization from 53 billion to 54, meaning that most of the equities that traded moved the market in such a direction that really was able to affect positively the market cap. And these were the equities that moved the market. We had Cal Bank actually returning 4 pesos and closed at 85 pesos per share. ETI, that's EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, that's the parent company of EcoBank Ghana Limited, also returned 1 peso to their investors. And tomorrow, it will be opening the market at 19 pesos per share. And of course, Societe Generale also returned 1 to be trading, around tomorrow, around the 87 pesos per share. That's exactly how. So because all of them returned some positive, gave positive returns to the investors, that's how market cap also did behave that way. And then on the commodities, crude is now selling 52 or trading around $52.44 after gaining $1.01 there. And gold also moved up by $17.14 to be trading currently around $1,261.21 cents. That's quite an impressive performance. And cocoa also did improve marginally at a positive return. And also, now let's look at how the currencies are faring. The currency, unfortunately, did not do well. As against yesterday, the Ghana cedi gained against the British pound, but today it lost that particular grounds that it gains against the British pound. So it lost against the US dollar, it lost against the British pound, lost against the euro, but only gained against the Chinese yuan and then the CFA franc. But then, if you ask me about the significance of this particular gains, it's not that much, because Ghana don't trade much in Chinese yuan. We do a lot of them, but not as much as we do in dollars, and of course the CFA franc. So we don't need much of this. We need the US dollar, the British pound, and the euro. So if you that's exactly how it is. So that's how the market is going to open tomorrow, all things being equal. And these are, we always say, the interbank rate quoted here. The Forex Bureau rate may change as and when, exactly.
Thank you very much. That was John Amwako with the market analysis. John on the marketplace for more interesting assessment of the market. My name is Emmanuel Bajiriafe. More news coming up. Don't go away.